So this 2003 Chevy 2500 HD, I haven't owned terribly long. I got it within, I guess, the last year. But it has 425,000 miles on it. And it's original engine, original transmission. This particular one has the LB7 Duramax engine and the 5-speed Allison transmission, which I found to be a great combo. Now, I bought this particular 2003 Chevy to replace, I still have a 1995 Chevy 3/4 ton with the 6.5 turbo diesel that I have nearly 300,000 miles on that. And that truck started to get a little rusty, and I think I'm going to end up putting a plow on it and just kind of, it's going to be kind of a yard truck and work truck. Which, this is definitely my work truck, but that'll just kind of not leave the property too much anymore. And it runs and drives fine, but it's getting pretty rusty, and this is just a joy to drive compared to that old truck. So as far as repairs that I've stuck into this truck, I did have to do the injectors, which is a very common LB7 thing. I think if anybody owns an LB7 Duramax, you're going to end up doing injectors on them. All first generation Duramaxes, it seems like it's super common. Just a really poor design. But other than that, I really don't find too many faults with this particular engine. I've done a few different modifications, I guess, but they're all pretty basic. Switched to a Caterpillar fuel filter and just tried to keep my fuel system in good shape. I did those injectors, which wasn't that hard of a job. It was just very time consuming. The 2-piece valve covers and ripping everything apart. It's time consuming, but it's not that bad of a job. So if you're a do-it-yourself kind of at-home mechanic and you've got a decent set of tools, don't be that intimidated on doing it. You're more than capable of doing them if you can tear apart, I guess, the intake manifold on any other basic engine. It's not that difficult. Just do it. Save yourself a lot of money, because when you take it to a shop, that's a few $1,000s to have that done. So don't be intimidated. Just do it. I put this aftermarket bumper on it. It's all aluminum, so it's really lightweight. I've got a 10,000-pound super winch on there with light bar, corner fog lamps. So I've done a few different things to that, and it's just nice having that in the winter time, pulling people out if I need to, and just when I travel out west, it's good to have that on there. I put different wheels and tires on it, but I'm going to show you guys around the truck, and I'm going to show you how we live here in northern Wisconsin with the amount of salt that gets sprayed on the roads. So I started you guys off on the good side of the truck, I would say, and you can already start seeing some rust on that front fender, the rocker panels down there. The box is pretty clean, but I did put that different box on there when I got it. And it's not any better on this side. Oh, look at that fender. Wow. So you guys out west think you have rust. Well, think again. This is northern Wisconsin for you. The salt and the calcium chloride, or whatever the liquid stuff they spray on the roads, it disintegrates these trucks. Every day I see vehicles that are, 5 years old, and they're already starting to rust out. It's not, the manufacturers can only do so much. It's what they put on the roads. It's a darn shame, because really mechanically this truck it feels like new. It drives so well. I'm very impressed. So I need to put a new front fender on it. I've got rocker panels and cab corners. I put a different box on it, but it's already starting to get a little rust on it. I've got a gooseneck ball in the middle. Otherwise, I just tow my bumper pole, car hauler, kind of your basic stuff. Interior, quite clean in the rear. The back seat, I don't think really in 400-some thousand miles probably hasn't had too many people sit in it. The front one though, oh yeah, lovely. A lot of wear and tear from getting in and out of the truck. Otherwise, it is a fully loaded LT. It's got Bose stereo, nice sound system, all of that. It is nicely equipped for 2003, and it gets pretty decent mileage. I get it a little over 20 on the highway, like 18 around town. So not too bad. And the engine's mostly stock. I have, I think, a different like boost control valve. I did a 4-inch exhaust system on it, stuff like that. It's just kind of your basic LB7 Duramax, nothing crazy here. I love that engine. I took this out west in November, and in the mountains I had my motorcycle in the bed of it, and the torque of that Duramax and the power was great, and the Allison transmission, I kind of fell in love with that, going down grades. It would hold the gear that I wanted, and it really slowed me down. I love it. So as far as like frame rust, the frame still has paint on it. There's some rust there, but it's just surface rust. So I haven't really had to use the torch on any bolts that I've had on here. Another problem with the interior that I actually had to fix was the gauge cluster was a little wonky on this thing. The fuel gauge would read funny, but so I had to put a sending unit in it, and then the gauge cluster was also broken. And I didn't find out that the fuel gauge wasn't working properly until I was cruising through Nevada and found that, surprise, surprise, my fuel gauge, it said that I had a quarter tank, and it started going backwards, and I ended up actually running out of fuel. If you know anything about diesel engines, it's not good to run them out of fuel. So I got this thing started off. I had some injector cleaner, a bottle of it. I dumped that in the tank. I primed the filter, got the air out of the system, and I got it to start for about 30 seconds. And it got me up an on-ramp and over the bridge over the interstate, and it stalled out again. And there was a gas station on the other side. I was able to coast it into that fuel station, filled it up with fuel, had to bleed the air out of it again, and I was good to go. But that's what I kind of had to do there. That was an event. So when I got home, not that long ago, I actually ended up putting a different sending unit in it, and then a different gauge cluster. Other than that, yeah, this is it. So I haul cars with it once in a while, but otherwise it was my daily driver all winter. And going from that old 6.5, that was such a cold-blooded truck in the wintertime when it was below 20 degrees, that truck was not starting unless you plugged it in. This one, I went through an entire Wisconsin winter with a broken block heater that did not work, so I didn't plug it in not once. And we had some days 20 below Fahrenheit, and this truck would start up, and it didn't like it, but it would start up. And I was very impressed by that. And the drivability of the truck is great. It's nice and quiet inside. It's very smooth. It's powerful, relatively fuel efficient. It's pretty great. So I just wanted to show you guys my high mileage Duramax with 425,000 miles on it.